Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again. Got the name right. Ha! I tried to slow it down a little bit.
Nice job.
Just a skoshal.
Really good job.
Hey, first thing first, big announcement. And listen.
I'm Nick Simon, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, Nick Simon. Big announcement. More important than your name even. You are wearing an Iowa Hawkeye sweatshirt on the pod, which means it's out in the public, which means you're denouncing your Wisconsin fan heritage.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I made up a rule that in the Big Ten, you can only have one team that you cheer for. You can't cheer for Ohio State and Michigan. You can't cheer for Wisconsin and Iowa. You put an Iowa sweatshirt on with an Iowa logo facing the camera, multiple angles.
When I bought it, I didn't realize it didn't show this on it.
Yeah, well, excuses are excuses, aren't they? Iowa Hawkeye fan. Woo! Do the applaud. Come on, there's applaud on there. Come on.
Nope.
Come on, hit the button. Come on. I'm going to keep applauding. Woo! Hey! Welcome to the club.
No, I see A&F everywhere, and I never knew what it was, and I was talking to Cole. And he told me what it was, and it's American Needs Farmers, and I'm like, that's really cool.
You got really excited.
I'm like, that's so awesome.
You were impulse buying.
Yeah,
You were almost impulse buying at Shields for a sweatshirt you didn't even like that much, but it said A&F on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think that's super cool.
And I think before we got to the truck,
I had one ordered.
you had placed the order.
Yep.
Fast shipping. Got it. Ordered it on Saturday.
Got it Monday.
No, ordered it on Friday.
Ordered it on Friday. Got it
night.
Monday.
Got it Monday. A&F. New Hawkeye fan. Welcome to the club. Just telling you.
I'm an equal opportunity fan.
No.
I love the Badgers. I don't know.
Hey, it's okay. You can love lots of things, but you're an Iowa fan. It's okay.
I'm not an Iowa fan.
Hey, we're in the sweatshirt. Hey, I don't have an Iowa sweatshirt. I've been an Iowa fan my whole life. I don't have an Iowa sweatshirt.
Yeah, but you have an Iowa shirt that you always wear on the podcast.
That's true. But I don't have a sweatshirt.
No, if the Badgers and Iowa played, I would cheer for the Badgers. But
I don't think so.
if Iowa plays anybody else, I'll cheer for Iowa and I'll cheer for Wisconsin the same day.
Listen.
I'm not that into it.
It's been announced. The announcement's been made. You've denounced your Wisconsin fan heritage likeness. Now you're an Iowa fan. It can't be taken away. This is like a press conference, basically. And there's like 9 people watching. So or listening. This is big. This is a big announcement.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Zip right now is probably shaking in his boots because he's
not even a Badger fan.
Well, he
hates college football. Zip, if you're watching, I don't get why you hate college football so much.
I'm just telling you. All right, so we got a couple pretty awesome subjects that we're going to cover today. I'll run through them here quick. First, we're going to talk about an awesome encounter we have with the buck that we've named Mega.
Yeah.
Which I kind of feel like we need to rethink that name after the next subject that we'll talk about, which is trail cam update. And then third, we're going to talk about cold fronts in October, baby. We've got one. Oh, yeah. Cold front October, baby. Woo! It's here.
Ah!
Yeah. We had a little mini cold front, and look what happened.
And it was awesome.
It was pretty killer.
Yeah.
Now, again, you can, after the Dwayne Diefenbach conversation, all things get thrown out the window.
Yeah.
But we know what we've all experienced. And cold weather seems to get deer on their feet.
And it clearly did.
And cold weather in October, which doesn't usually happen, even in North Iowa, where we are a little bit colder than the southern half or a lot of the other parts of the Midwest.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, everything showed an uptick. Cameras started lighting up. Scrapes started lighting up.
We're in the woods and we're seeing bucks during the morning, not midnight.
People on social media posting kills.
Dead deer, buck. It was hey.
Clearly, there was clearly an uptick in something.
Oh, geez,
and it lined up perfectly.
So
with
when this episode's airing, there's a cold front as you're watching, not as we're speaking.
If you're watching this right now, you probably shouldn't be sitting on your couch watching it. You should probably be in the woods, in a stand, maybe listen to it in an earbud on Spotify, Apple Music, Google,
YouTube, TikTok, website, ozonicsonny.com.
You name it.
We need to figure out a better way. Man, I love that noise.
It's such a long reach.
Yeah. So let's cover the first thing first. So we have a spot that we talked about in an earlier podcast. I don't remember which episode.
Episode 8, scouting overlooked spots.
Okay, episode 8. And that's exactly what it was. It was a spot that I had looked at years ago for turkey hunting, actually. Just, looking on my phone one day and just kind of thinking about stuff. And it was like early spring. And I'm like, man, I bet that would be a good turkey spot. So I walk all the way out there. And there's a grove there's like a little thicket of pine trees.
Yeah.
That aren't meant to be there.
Yeah.
Somebody way back when decided, you know what? I want some pine trees here. So they planted some pine trees. There's no other pine trees.
No.
And there's, it is what it is. Get out there and it looked like there'd be a great spot for some turkeys. But all of a sudden I'm standing there, I'm like, wow, this has got deer heaven written all over it. I'm like, there's sign, there's a trail. This looks good. That's where they would bed. That's where they would feed. I'm like, holy crapper.
Yeah.
And I just kind of never did anything with it. I don't know. That's been years and years ago.
Yeah.
And so this year we were kind of, you're just new to Iowa and trying to find a place to hunt. And so I'm like, we're looking at different things. I was like, well, we should go check that out again,
Yeah.
And so we went out there in the summertime and it looked just as good as it did before.
Right.
Maybe even better. Mm-hmm. And so we did the podcast about it and looking at the LiDAR maps, looking at the aerial photos.
Drone footage.
Yep, drone footage, putting boots on the ground, scouting it. And, 1 + 2 + 3 equals...
big bucks.
Yeah, I was going to say 1 + 2 + 3, 6.
6.
And big bucks. 1 + 2 + 3, that's 6. But it also equals, should be a good place for deer, right?
Yeah.
And so when it got to be 7 days before season, because that's what you have to do on public land in Iowa, you can't just set tree stands out there all year round. Mm-hmm. It was within the 7 days, and I was watching the calendar, and I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yep.
So we hoofed out there and
hung a set.
Yep, hung a set in the tree that we're like, this looks like a heck of a spot.
Yeah.
And and then all of a sudden we hunted there like once or twice, and they had just started to pick the cornfield that's right there next to it, and saw a few deer. Then I went back out there one time and shot a big old doe.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Came in again, read the script, came right down, boom. Well, before I shot that doe and before we started hunting it, after we'd already set the tree stand out there, all of a sudden we got a really nice buck on camera.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that was icing on the cake. We're like, holy cow, this is all coming together. We scouted this spot. We're looking at it. We've done all this homework, and then we put the camera out, and then all of a sudden,
boom, there he is.
This great buck walks by.
Yeah, really nice buck.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, nice buck. I don't care where you are, what land you're hunting on.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels even sweeter on public land. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so,
but I think another thing we should say too is the first time that we hunted it together, we bumped that deer.
Oh yeah.
I
completely forgot about that.
And it's funny too, because I mean, like, it's not like we did anything wrong. We were way early. Well, I mean, we were in there because we still had to hang my stand.
And that's
so we're like, well, let's just get up early. We'll get back there, get set up, let everything settle down. And we're getting over to where we're hunting. And sure enough, we bump a deer. We can hear them. And then we get all set up in the stand. We're both kind of checking our trail cameras. We're like, oh my gosh, it was him.
Yeah. So literally, if you know anything about me, I'm always the guy that's, when in doubt, be early.
Yeah.
I'd rather sit in the stand for an hour
right.
and let it settle down or whatever you want to call it. I just like to be early. I don't like to be late. If I'm late, I'm hurrying. If I'm hurrying, I'm getting sweaty. If I'm getting sweaty, that's not helping me out at all.
Yeah.
So I like to just get out there early, ease my way in. I try to walk, like I was always taught, like walk like a deer. Mm-hmm. So I'm not just like constantly just tromp and that's not what a deer does. Like I walk and I stop and I gawk and I stop and I walk and I just take my time. So we were doing that. Mm-hmm. It takes longer to walk in doing that.
Yeah.
And, got to go down this little hill to get to the stand. And we started to come down that little hill. And then all of a sudden, we just both like, hey, wait. And you could hear just deer, and knew right away, you're like, dang,
Yeah.
And we had a west wind northwest wind.
Yep, it was a good wind.
It was a good wind, and so he didn't. I don't think he smelled us.
Didn't smell us.
But yeah, we got down to the stand. We get up. We get everything all set up. We had to set the other stand, pull out the cameras. We probably walked down the hill at 5:20. He walked by the camera at 5:18.
Yeah.
We can show that photo here.
Yeah.
Walked right through that thicket.
Yeah.
He walked from the west or going east.
Yep, going east.
He would have walked right into us.
Walked right by us, yeah.
Walked right up the trail, and we intersected him.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, there he is.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And sure, just like, dang, he's here. You know, like
Yeah.
this has got to be somewhere roughly where he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen him on camera. Now we just bumped into him.
Yep.
You know, and so it's like, awesome. Shot that doe out there, and she, you know, ran off and, you know, expired in the perfect spot. I could just sneak down in there, grab her, and get out of there. That was perfect. And then we went back out there again. We all of a sudden we're looking at the weather, and we get this little bit of a cold front.
Yeah.
You know, we've had, like it is in most places on October, it's warm.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get, in early October, you're not going to get a 30-degree day. You know, it's like it's 50, it's 45, it's 50. And then all of a sudden that day it was like 32.
Yeah. It was
Frosty.
Yeah.
We had just a little bit of a frost.
Yeah. It was pretty much the perfect morning that every bow hunter dreams about.
We're walking in. I even said that when we walked in. I looked down at my feet, and my feet weren't even wet. They weren't dewy.
Yeah.
The frost was just bouncing right off. I'm like, look at my feet. I'm like, my feet are dry. This is so awesome. So we get down in there the same way. We walk down in there, get all set up. And
I'm going to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of sick that morning.
It's so funny because I wasn't going to talk about that.
No, I know,
I was sworn to secrecy.
I know, but it's killing me still. Like, I think about it every day, and Cole doesn't forget to remind me about it.
No,
and so
hold
I've
on
been
a second.
feeling really bad about it.
Listen, I only say it to joke around. It honestly, it doesn't even bother me.
No, I know, but it's just
Because
it bothers me.
Here's the thing. The one thing that I've always said, I think, and I'm going to interrupt you there. When it comes to deer hunting, I think about deer hunting the perspective like material things.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't ever want to be the guy that holds on to things so tightly.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be a material guy. And I think I try to be that way with everything that I do. I mean, if you need to borrow something, here you go.
Yep.
You know,
he's not lying about that.
Hey,
half the stuff I'm using right now is Cole's.
It's just like, because you know what? It's just stuff.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? It's just stuff.
Yeah.
And like deer, it's just a deer.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget, I was a younger guy, and there was somebody, I don't even know the guy. I just heard about it.
Yeah.
This avid bow hunter, been bowing his whole life. He had this house full of all these deer.
Yeah.
I mean, mega giants, like avid bow hunter.
Yeah.
And house burned down.
Yeah, exactly.
House burned down to the foundation. Nothing left.
Yeah.
And guess what? It all just burns up.
Yeah.
It's just deer.
Yeah.
Like, I want to shoot a big deer like everybody else does, but in the same regard, if we do, if we don't, it doesn't make or break it. Like, I've got a wife and I've got 5 kids and a dog and a cat that I don't like. You know what I mean? The cat's nice. Yeah. But that's what's really important.
No.
Your friends and your family are important, but deer and things, they're just things.
No, I know.
Like, I think we get too much make out of it. So I wanted to make sure, for the record, when I'm razzing you, I'm just razzing you to razz. I'm not razzing you because it, like, deep down, like, really bothers me.
No, I know. But
it just is what it is.
I think the thing is it really bothers me because it just, I don't like it.
It felt like we're standing in the batter's box and we're like, oh, here comes a strike.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here we go. And then we just didn't swing.
Well, it's because it's like my actions affected you.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, we're both so passionate about this and we try so hard. I mean, we work our freaking tails off, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody besides me and you realize how hard we work at this stuff. And it's like, we had that opportunity, and if what happened didn't happen, we probably would be telling a different story right now.
Yeah.
And it just kills me. I think about it constantly. It sucks. It sucks just because I care so much about it. Okay, so I wasn't feeling good. My stomach was killing me.
We didn't film any of this, right? Because it kind of happened all of a sudden, right?
Yeah. And like,
so to preface it, I'm sitting in the stand, and it's about 6:30.
Yeah.
6:30.
Yeah.
And I look over at Nick, and I got the stand set up, and we're both getting all our gear squared away. And Nick is sitting there, and you can't see me if you're listening to this, but Nick's just kind of sitting there going like this. he's just like going back and forth. And I can see like sweat, like just on your forehead. And I'm like, I look over, I'm like, hey man, like, how you doing? And you're like, dude, I'm not doing good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And you're like, dude, you're like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, I'm like, and first thought is I'm like, we'll just pee out of the stand. Like, it's fine, dude. Like, just go. And you're like, no, dude, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Number 2, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and like, it was so bad. Like Cole saying, like, the issue, I was like, okay, you can deal with the pain, like, whatever. But the issue is I was sweating so bad, and I could feel the air. I could feel myself getting really cold. And you felt it when I took my vest off. You grabbed it, and you're like, dude, this is like soaking wet.
yeah, so he had a jacket on, but then he had a vest on underneath of it. And it was what? Yeah, it was my vest, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was your Fanatic vest.
Yeah. He took the Fanatic vest off, and it was on the inside was drenched.
Yeah.
I'm like holding him, like feeling like, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I mean, your body was like, it was blowing off some heat, man. It was saying, hey, you need to do this.
Yeah.
So, and it couldn't have been like the worst time, right?
Yeah.
So right away, I asked him, like, do you got any toilet paper? And you're like, and I think you'd even gotten that far. You know what I mean?
No.
You're thinking leaves or a piece of bark. You know what I mean? You're like, you're going to come back with one glove, you know?
Yeah.
So I carry some Kleenexes, you know, like a little box. Not anymore. It was a full little thing of Kleenex, by a little travel pack. No, but I always have something stuffed in my pack.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I've got something. So I rummaged through and find it, and I'm like, here you go. And you're like, dude, I'm sorry, but I got to. And I'm like, all right. So he's taking off his gear, trying to lighten up like that stuff as much as he can. And you're wearing my Fanatic vest, my Fanatic bibs. And I'm like, just don't, like.
Yeah. So when I got to the base of the tree, I took. I just felt weird. So when I got to the base of the tree, I took everything off. Yeah. Literally everything. And
like, just keep it in the hole on the ground, not like on the back of my stuff.
Well, and like I remember too asking him, like, are you sure? And you're like,
what choice do we have?
I guess.
I'm like, well,
because like deep down, I'm like, oh, something's gonna happen. Like something's gonna happen. But I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to sit here the whole time with being this cold because I was so wet, and it's just like.
And I'm like, just hurry, you know, like just get down, like. You know, like there was a couple little trails that like went through this brushy spot that we're in.
It is so thick in there, and so like I find a spot that I think I'm good, and all of a sudden I'm like
to pop the squat.
I'm about ready, and my insulin pump just gets hung up so bad in this tree, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, this is not gonna work. Like, what do I do? So I had to go and find another spot. So whatever, you guys know what happens next.
So I'm hearing this, and I hear, and then I know anything. Then all of a sudden I hear a. I'm like, wow, he filled up one whole hole. I'm like, what is he doing? You know what I mean?
It was so bad.
And then the best part was Nick was like, before Nick climbs out, he goes, look at me, he goes, don't you look. I'm like, oh, I'm looking. No, I'm like, what am I gonna look at? I'm not looking. I'm like, give me a break. I'm like, I'm looking for deer.
Well, and it's like I tuck myself in this super thick thing, and I get my pump all hung up, and I'm like, well, now I got to climb out. So I climb out, find a spot that's better. Well, I'm just about done, and
doing your business.
And I heard a deer, and then I could hear like, I'm like something's right here.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's something close by, and so like I'm just like sitting there, like just waiting. Finally, I don't hear anything, so I get all done. I get to the base of the tree, and Cole's up there looking at me. He's like, hurry up. Hurry up.
I'm whisper yelling. I'm whisper yelling.
Okay. And I'm like trying to get everything on. Crawl up the tree as fast as I can. And I get up there, and sure enough, there's some deer out in the field or whatever.
So let me get bump in there. So I'm sitting in the tree looking straight in front of me. So I hear Nick over to the right. I hear him scrape a hole. Then I hear walk back. Then I hear him walk to the left. Then I hear him scrape a hole. So now I know he's over to my left. Well, I'm just sitting there, and now it's like 6:45.
Yeah,
and it's
getting to be prime time.
Yep, it's light.
It's prime time.
Yeah, yeah. No offense, what's about it? It's legal shooting light. I can see all the way out of the field. Now I'm watching. I'm barely can see two does coming through the cornfield. I'm like, oh crap! And you're still down there doing your thing. And I'm just kind of, I'm standing there, and I'm like, golly. I'm like, come on. And all of a sudden, I see this doe from the right. She comes barreling down the hill.
Yeah.
Not tail up, tail down, right away on my mind said, oh my gosh, she's getting chased.
Yeah.
Because she was tail down and she was getting, you know?
Yeah.
She comes barreling down the hill, runs right down the trail that I shot the doe on, runs right by, runs right to you within 5 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, she ran right up to you.
Yeah.
And I could see her slam on the brakes. She didn't really blow, but she's hoofing, you know? She's like stomping and she'll, you know, like, what's that? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing there? And then, dude, she turned and she ran back the way she came as fast as she could, tail still down. You know what I mean? You could tell that she was just, she ran down like, okay, I'm just trying to get away from whatever's chasing me. I'm going this way.
Yeah.
And then, oh crap, I can't go that way. I got to go this way.
Yep.
And so she ran right up back to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, come on, come on.
Yeah.
So then you finally get to the tree, and then I'm whispering, yelling at you. I'm like, dude, get up here now.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
It's because those does are still coming down the cornfield.
Yeah.
You climb 3/4 of the way up to the tree. Well, then you get stuck because the deer are within 125, 30 yards right there.
Yeah. And
they're on the level of us.
And they're looking right at us.
So I'm like, don't move. So he's like, he's like monkeyed in this tree, like sitting there like this, like, don't move.
Yeah.
She put her head on, okay, climb up one more. Wait, stop. You know.
Yeah.
And you got up in the tree fine.
Yeah.
Finally.
And I hit record for like probably about a minute and a half on these does. And all of a sudden we just hear crack, 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 crack. And I'm like, I didn't even get the camera on him like big buck for sure because it just sounded heavy and dense.
It didn't sound like a dink. It sounded like a clank.
Yeah, it was like a real thud. I'm like, big buck. And I hadn't even seen it. And sure enough, right at the top of the hill, you can see.
At like 60, 70 yards?
Yeah, probably 67 yards. And you can see 2 bucks going at it. And then I think one of them lifts his head up and it was a nice 8-pointer. And then the other guy lifts his head up. I'm like, oh my God, there he is right there.
Yeah.
He is right there.
I put up the binos and right away, right when I could see him fighting, moving around, and then he puts his head up and
I just remember you saying, there's our guy.
That's our guy.
There he is. And and he stayed right there. Footage was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like every place he stopped, he was like posing for us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Just a beautiful, beautiful buck. And that other buck was pretty nice too. Younger, tall 8-pointer.
Yep. High and tight.
Yeah.
And they fought for, I mean, gosh, it was like
a long time.
Yeah, 10, 15 minutes.
They would break apart, go back at it for a little bit.
Yeah, they would fight, then he would kind of display and just kind of stay on the other buck, a little small, but kind of move around. And then he would come over back to him again. They would fight.
Yeah.
The doe that ran down the hill and ran back up, she was just kind of standing there watching the whole show.
Yeah.
And then there was another little Forky and a Spiker that were there kind of dingle-dallying around.
Yeah.
And then, but you could tell that doe wanted to come down where we were.
Yeah.
You know, but she obviously...
Yeah, she ran into something that she didn't like.
Yeah, ran into the poop show.
Yeah.
So, got more than she was bargained for.
Yeah.
So you could tell she was like, I don't feel comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. So she kind of walked to our left, more kind of in front of us. And the public-private fence is like 50, 60 yards right there.
Yep.
And that's right where they were was on the private side.
Yeah, just barely on
Just
the private.
barely. And the other bucks are on the public, and then she was on the public, then she's on the private. She's kind of walking down that fence. And then she kind of walked back up, and then the bucks fought again.
Yep.
And then the high tight, he kind of walks to the, he kind of walks to the left, and we're like, well, where did the big guy go?
Yeah.
Well, you're thinking, okay, well, did he just walk straight
away?
So then I rattled, and I snort wheezed. Well, then all of a sudden, boom, he stands out, comes walking to the left.
Yeah.
Comes right down the fence, like just leaning right up against the fence, just looking, trying to figure out, okay, I can hear it. Why can't I see it?
Yeah.
And that doe, she's kind of lollygagging back and forth, and they're just kind of waiting to see what she's going to do.
Yeah.
Well, finally, she comes onto the public, and she comes to our right.
Yep.
Comes down to 40 yards, hits this little scrape.
Yeah.
I think she kind of got up on her legs once and was trying to lick the branches and stuff. And then she works back to the east.
Yep.
And then they were going to go where she went.
Yeah.
And so that's where they went.
And they just kind of slowly
Yeah.
walked and followed her
Yeah.
away.
In the moment, I felt like we were really, you're hunting, you're just like thinking about, okay, we're trying to be really still, and they're on eye level, and we're trying to, okay, do I grunt? Do I snort wheeze? What do I need to do? I was ranging her at that 40, and I'm like, okay, if he walks down there, I'm going to squeeze one through there, because he'll probably be quartering away. Like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to do this now. And then he just decided to walk the top and go off. And then the other bucks did the same thing.
Yep.
And in the moment, you're just kind of hunting.
Yeah.
And then I think it kind of hit you way faster than it hit me.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, that was awesome. You know what I mean? We were freaking out. We're high-fiving like, man, that's so cool. And then we did some video and talking about it. And, we looked back and the video looked amazing. I mean, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
The sun was coming up and it was just like amazing.
Yeah, it was a super cool morning.
Yeah. As we walked back is when I think it all of a sudden kind of rushed forward and just kind of smacked me.
Yeah.
Like, dang. Like I started to kind of replay. I'm like, man, so that doe, she ran down there getting chased.
Yeah.
They probably would have just, again, it's a big probably.
Yeah, you don't know what's
going to happen.
Yeah.
But it felt like they were kind of like
working that way.
They were stringing behind her wherever she went, and seemed like they probably would have
cruised right by,
marched down that hill. So that's the part that kind of like haunts you.
Yeah, exactly. And you're exactly right. We were like halfway back, and I just remember like it just hit me so hard. I'm like, crap. Like that was a really good opportunity, and I just foobarred it completely up. I'm like, God dang it, man.
Well, like you've heard me say it a lot of times, and I continue to say it. And I think that hunting in general, whether it's deer hunting, elk hunting, whatever type of hunting you're doing, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And I think that adage really works for me.
Yeah.
And I think that just like you said at the beginning of this, there are a lot of passionate hunters out there, and there are a lot of guys that work hard, and there's probably guys that work harder than us.
Yeah.
But within what we do day to day and having full-time jobs and kids and, responsibilities and everything else, we work pretty dang hard at this and trying to produce content that we're really proud of and that we really enjoy sharing with people that watch and listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like we'd done a lot to have the stars come together, and they kind of did.
Yeah.
And like I said, we had the right pitch and we just didn't swing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It is what it is. Like I said, live to hunt another day.
Yeah. Well, and then actually it's kind of funny too, because Cole had some work stuff he had to do that night, and he's like,
I had to go to a Shields event.
Yeah.
So I hunted that morning away.
Yeah, we had to get out by like 8 o'clock. Our plan was to leave at 8.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we got to go by 8 because you need to get to work. I got to get going down the road because I had to go to Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah.
Which is 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like 6 hours not stopping.
Yeah.
So I'm hauling.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I'm like, well, hey, dude, he's here.
Yeah, he's like, go back and hunt that thing.
I'm like, what do we need? What do you need for gear so you can not freeze?
Yeah.
It's still cold.
Yeah.
He's in here, obviously. That doe's here. Like, go back.
Yeah.
And so you did.
Yeah, so I went back that night. It's kind of the same deal. Does came out, actually, I was at the base of the tree ready to climb up, and a doe come walking by at like 30 yards. This is at like 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like early. I'm like,
Crazy.
all right. I'm like, here we go. She walked by, never noticed me or anything. Crawl up, get the camera gear all set up, and I'm all dialed in. And like as soon as I get set up, another doe comes out, kind of up on top of the hill. She kind of meanders away. Then it was kind of slow, but then all of a sudden some deer started popping out way far away. Never had anything in shooting range except for that first one that I saw. And the night just carried on, got dark, and I'm like, it was like so dead quiet that night, like insanely quiet. And I'm like, all right, I've got to take my time getting out of here because like I'm not the greatest up in the stand. Like I'm just not. I'm not too used to it still. So I'm like, just think about every single move you make. Be quiet. Make sure you get everything down good. So I was doing that, and I'm going. Everything's good. And in that spot, you have to carry your bow down and then go back up again.
There's not a real good way with the way the brush is there to like,
you can't. It is so thick. You can't get your bow down.
Rope. Yeah,
no.
There's no bow rope way. You know, if you go down behind you, you're clanking on the sticks and stuff, and it's just there's not a good way. So we have a lifeline up on the tree.
Yeah,
and so you kind of shimmy down with the lifeline.
Yeah,
and your bow if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really tricky.
Yeah.
Or you try to connect, or you just make 2 trips.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
You know, so it's kind of tricky.
So I get my bow down, get back up real nice and quiet. And I had my pack all packed up with all the camera gear, camera arm, everything. And so I get to the top, I put my bag on, and it's getting dark, but there's not a cloud in the sky. So the moon was kind of lighting everything up a little bit. And so I get down onto one step, kind of look around, just make sure there's nothing in front of me, whatever. Get down another step, and I'm doing the same thing, just looking around, because it's kind of funny how that is, because like the first 2 steps you're kind of exposed, but then once you get down to like that third one, you're kind of you're in the clear.
Yeah,
like
you're in the foliage then.
Yeah, in the clear for not anything seen you. And so I'm like just about to take another step, and then I just see the back of a deer. I'm like, oh, there's a deer right there. I'm just going to wait. And all of a sudden picks his head up. I'm like, oh my God, that's him again at like 50 yards up on top of the hill.
Right there.
Right there. And he put his head down again, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just make sure. So I pulled my binos out of my harness, and I just pulled it up, and he picks his head up again. I'm like, oh my God. Like, he's right there. I'm like, well, now what do I do? So same exact thing. I just stayed where I was and just watched him for like probably 5 minutes on the steps. And then I couldn't see him anymore. Crawled down really, really slow. I took all my bibs and stuff off at the base of the stand. I'm like, I'm just going to let him get as far away as I can. And I walked up and I didn't hear anything. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but yeah, so we saw him twice in one day.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean,
he's a good deer.
Yeah, he's
like a mainframe 10, but he's got stickers on his twos and he's crab clawed at the ends.
Yeah.
He's dark horned.
Yeah, he's a beautiful, beautiful deer.
All the pictures we'd had of him was either in the middle of the night or really, really early before light in the morning.
Yep.
And it was all like where he was walking with his butt facing us, right? So he's always walking away.
Yeah. So we never really got like a really good idea of what he was.
But we knew he was big.
But
we didn't know, like couldn't really tell like everything.
Everything, yeah.
And then seeing him like that during the day, man, I couldn't believe how dark his horns were.
I know, it was super cool.
Super dark.
I love that. It's kind of a unique thing for this area. I feel
because like as high and tight as the other one was, and he was white.
White, really white.
Man, that guy was dark.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really dark.
Yeah, and man, he really put on a show.
Oh.
I mean, he was in front of us for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just kind of like walking back and forth up there, kind of checking on those does, seeing what that other buck was doing. Then he would like go away for a little bit, and all of a sudden we'd be like, oh, there he is again. Like, no, that was a super, super fun hunt. Like,
man,
it's just cool to have him right there.
I know. Well, and it's like, man, it's just, and you know, I've said this before. I think I've said this in other podcasts, but I'll say it again. You know, I don't live and die to whitetail hunt, right? My thing is I always want to try to do something that I've never done before.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the North American Super Slam, North American big game animals.
Yeah.
North American Super Slam is something I'll probably never be able to do because some of the hunts are just financially out of my reach.
Insanely expensive.
Yep. But I still aspire for those types of things. You know what I mean? And so, I think what I love about North American big game animals and why I love that so much is I love the adventure. Mm-hmm. I love, the unknown. I love the danger, I love that.
Yeah.
That part that just makes you feel just like that flutter.
Yeah.
But what I always say about whitetails, and I remember I had this conversation, I think we had talked about this at Harrisburg last year.
Yeah.
What I love about whitetails and what makes me feel that flutter and that adventure and that danger and mystery is when you hunt in the Midwest, when you hunt in Iowa, and you walk away from the truck, and you walk in the woods, you never know when you might see a buck of a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane around here, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, right? And I don't know that I'm supposed to say who it was, but there was somebody that I know that walked away from his truck just last week and shot
a giant.
A giant.
An absolute giant.
Yeah, you're like doing a giant. It was a giant.
Yeah.
Just a giant.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, right?
Yeah.
When you get a call at 7:00 and you answer and you hear wiggly in the guy's voice and you go, did you get one? Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't, but he did.
Yeah.
You just know. And you just never know when you walk away from your truck when you're going to see an absolute giant. Yeah. And that's what I love about Iowa. That's what I love about whitetail.
Gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
That's what I love about the Midwest.
Yeah.
Is you walk away from a truck and you're going to see an absolute giant. And we had that encounter with that deer.
Yeah.
That was a deer that when we walked away that truck that day, I don't think that either of us thought it was really a doe mission.
No.
Right?
No.
And then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, big buck, and I put the binos on him. I go, that's our guy.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy, dude.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why this is such a magical time of year.
Oh,
like we are in it right now.
In the thick of it, for
we
sure.
are in the thick of it.
Yeah.
We are looking at the top of the hill here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like we're climbing up to the peak of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I love about whitetail hunting.
Yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. And so yeah, like you said, he's out there, and we're gonna keep after it.
Yep.
You know, and honestly, I think that kind of segues right into our next topic.
Yeah.
Next thing we want to kind of talk about was our trail cam update.
Yeah.
You know, about we've got not a pile. I mean, enough for the two of us. It seems like a lot. It's not a lot comparatively to a lot of people, but
definitely.
We've got some cell cams out.
Yeah.
And we actually have a cell cam out at that spot.
Yep.
And that's how we knew that guy was there.
Yep.
And then actually just the other day, and we can post that picture as well, we got a picture of another nice, really, it's getting me all tongue twisted.
Stud out there.
Yeah, another good one.
Like one of the biggest 8-pointers I've ever seen.
Wide, tall, huge brows.
Yeah, just a really, really.
Shoot that guy.
Yeah,
shoot that guy.
The picture where he's kind of facing the camera, it's like, whoa.
Where'd you come from?
Framey.
Yeah, where'd you come from?
He is big.
Yeah. So there's a nice deer, another nice deer out there. We haven't had, I guess what we're calling Mega. We haven't, which I think we need to rethink that name.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah.
But we should keep hitting the table. We should keep it on the mic, but I don't care. We haven't had that guy on camera again.
Yeah.
But we got this other buck on camera now, and we know they're there.
Oh,
now
yeah,
again,
sure.
we had this little dip in cold.
Yeah.
Now we've had this big stretch of warmer, a little bit rainy.
Yeah.
You know, lower pressure.
Yeah.
You can call it what you want. It just hasn't felt like it hasn't been as good.
No.
We've been in this little bit of a lull again, you know what I mean? Where it's like, even seeing does, it's been like kind of hit and miss.
Yeah, it's
you know,
been
you're
a
just
little
kind
bit
of
slow.
like, you're just kind of running into your maybe or not.
Guess you could call it the October lull.
Yeah. We're not having this rut activity in what we've been out in the different spots that we've been hunting.
Yep.
Little mini rut update there.
Yeah.
But, and then the cameras that I have on the private pieces that I have permission for, geez, oh, Pete, you wouldn't even think a deer exists.
It's been slow, dude.
Oh my goodness.
It's been really slow.
You know?
It's crazy.
We've got another camera on another private permission piece.
Same thing. Just crickets.
It's just like, okay, I'm pretty sure there are deer out here, but but the funny thing is, and I'm going to tie this together, we also have cameras on a piece of public that will go undisclosed.
Yep.
And those cameras have been lighting up like Christmas trees.
It has been
absolutely insane.
I can't even explain it.
No, I wish you could, because I'll explain it. What it's been is your mind being blown is what it's been.
It's been insane.
Every day. And here's the funny thing. So this is a public spot that I used to hunt a ton. And I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but in North Iowa, there's not a lot of I shouldn't say that. And maybe there is. I don't think there's a lot of leased up land.
Yeah.
Because when I go out and knock on doors and ask permission, I don't get a lot of guys that say, "Oh, this is leased."
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people that say, "Oh, this guy farms it. He also has a hunting right." So maybe that's technically leased. I guess that's technically kind of leased.
Yeah.
But what I have found is and maybe it's like this in Southern Iowa and Ohio or Wisconsin or Illinois or Missouri or wherever else too. But if you're not from that area, a lot of times when you go and knock on doors, a guy will ask you, "Where are you from?" And when I first moved to Clear Lake area, I wasn't from Clear Lake. I grew up in Belmont down the road. Well, that was just far enough away that I got a lot of no's.
Yeah.
I tried to pitch it every different which way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was a vacuum salesman, and just a lot of people just told me no. It's kind of hard to find permission pieces.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just stumble on them.
Yeah.
Other times you don't. So what I just accepted was, and I looked at it and I'm like, kind of after a while, I'm like, you know what? I guess it's okay. I don't have permission spots. There's a bunch of really good public land here.
Yeah.
And spots that when I went out there to check, I'm like, I didn't see any other tree stands. I didn't see any other really human
pressure
encroachment.
Yeah.
Other than other types of hunting that wasn't deer hunting. And I'm like, geez, these spots are dynamite.
Yeah.
I'll just hunt this.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay. So once I switched to that, I did that for years.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about permission. I didn't even go knock on doors. I just focused on those public spots.
Shot a nice buck too.
Yeah. Yeah. Shot a nice deer out there on
great 8-pointer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great buck.
Super cool.
Yeah.
On a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I parked in the parking lot, And there was a guy from Minnesota, and he had a Brittany dog. It was just him and his dog. And he was getting to his truck as I was getting there to go hunting. And it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And he saw me getting all my gear out. And I pull right up and he's walking right out. It's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. Yeah, good. And, right away, yo, you doing some bow hunting? Yep, doing some bow hunting. I said, do you have any luck? And he's like, no. And he's like, man, I don't think you're going to see anything today. He's like, we tromped all over that. I was like, okay, yep, all right.
Look at a map. This place is so big.
Yeah, I'm like, all
right, especially
man.
for the hunting he was doing. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, man, cool. I'm like, I was like, just out of curiosity, where'd you go? And he kind of explained to me. I'm like, okay, I'll definitely be okay. I'm like, all right, man, cool. Because like most pheasant hunters that I always see, they walked like, there must be like pheasant hunter trails that I'm not aware of that are marked, that like they get on and they just all walk the same exact thing. Yeah. But that's kind of a sarcastic, mean thing to say, but it kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I get out there and right towards dark, like right at sunset, I'll never forget, I saw this doe and then I could see him with the sun kind of glistening behind him, walk down through here. The doe came by. That was funny. That was in 2016. That was the first fall that I started working on ozonics. That doe walked into this little thicket and got directly downwind. I'll never forget, I ranged her. She's at 14 yards. At that time, I didn't have antlerless tags. 14 yards right there, directly downwind. She's standing there and she's kind of putting up her nose and she's trying to figure out, well, that buck came walked down the same trail, and you could see him looking at her and just looking at the way she was acting, and he's kind of looking and he's like, and she's kind of standing there like trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, please. I'm like, come on, ozonics. And that buck, he stood there and he watched her and he watched her and he watched her. And finally he was like, okay. He came in to like 28 yards, got on the scrape. I drew back and I smoked him.
Yeah.
Ran out. I saw him stand there, put his head down, and instantly I'm like, liver hit. I'm like, liver hit. And he put his head down, but he's standing there, and then finally he just bedded down. And I,
Yeah.
So I back out of there. I go back to town, get my neighbor Jerry. We walk all the way back in there with the cart, go all the way back where I shot him, blood trail. It's got to be right here. And there he was.
Yeah.
And it was just like that feeling. I mean, shooting a deer, I don't care where it is. It's amazing. I don't care if it's on a private piece, on its leased, it's permission, it's public, any of the P's.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But there's a bunch of good deer out there.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been able to get some permission places, so I haven't hunted it near as much.
Yeah.
And then when you were getting here, you're like, man, I love trying to find a place to hunt. I'm like, man, dude, I know where I would start.
Yeah.
Like, again, I look at permission, or I look at land like material things, or like deer, like it just is what it is. Mm-hmm. I would check here. And it was kind of funny because you had totally kind of like written that spot off.
Yeah.
I think most people do.
When he showed it to me, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. Like, is this actually good? He's like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. I'm like, what? I'm like, I literally, like, before I even moved down here and I knew I was going to be living in this area, first thing I was doing was I was on Onyx seeing what's around, what's kicking around. And like I saw that one, I'm like, like there's nothing to it. Like, I'm not going to try that. It's not even worth it.
Yeah.
And then the first place that Cole tells me was that piece. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. So what I did back then, and I told you to do the same thing, and you've done it since then, is I didn't categorize them by like their, like what we're going to describe here. Yeah. I just kept track.
Yeah.
And I just kind of knew like, okay, this is how many different bucks I had during the fall.
Well, and it's funny too, because like when you told me that, when Cole did it, he told me, he's like, I swear to you, there was 40 different bucks out there.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way. Well, I went and scouted it, and dude, it was tore up. There was scrapes everywhere.
Yeah, you scouted it in the late spring.
And
snow had just been gone, so it looks just like the fall, which is a great time to do some scouting because you can really see, well, there's a great scrape, there's a great rub, there's a great trail. It's just like, it looks just like it does when everything gets snow laid over, it just melts and there it is.
Yeah, I remember, I'm pretty sure I called you right after. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there is just scrapes everywhere, rubs, trails, everything. I'm like, I 100% believe you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did. I told you, I'm like, man, dude, I had like 40 some bucks on camera because I just started kind of keeping track, like just like makeshift, like, there's number 10, that's exactly. 12. And, at that time I was just checking cards.
Yeah.
So I like kind of kept each one on my phone. I didn't have them numbered like by this, but I just knew like, okay, that's number 27, 28.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 some bucks.
Yeah.
So then we were hanging out, and I said, hey, you know what you ought to try to do? I'm like, you ought to just number them in chronological order, and that be their name.
Yeah.
And you were like, yes. Yeah. I was like, beep, 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 beep. You were like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
So then that's what you've done.
Yeah.
So what are you at as of right now?
Right now I am at 34.
So
34 actually, and
not November yet.
And last night was an insane night. I woke up with like 70 million pictures, and I know that there's probably at least 3 or 4 new bucks on there.
Yeah.
So we're really creeping up on 40.
Now again, I always say that whitetails, just like a lot of animals, it's a pyramid.
Yeah.
Meaning at the bottom of the pyramid, there's lots of small ones.
Yeah.
And as you go up the pyramid and the bucks get bigger and older, there's less and less and less. You get to the top of the pyramid, there could be only one.
Yep. And just so you guys know, I think we found the top of the pyramid.
Yeah. If we didn't find the top of the pyramid,
I mean,
it's funny because this whole time, whenever you've been looking at the pictures, now again, let it be known, Nick will like lose it over like 130.
yeah, that's my goal this year.
Yeah. So he'll be like, oh my gosh, saw a giant, got a big one. So then he'll show me, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good deer.
Yeah, every single time. I'm like, yeah, so I'm like 5, 9, 16, 22, 23. Like those are the bucks that I'm going to shoot.
Because the name of the buck is the number in chronological order on the piece, which I think is a great way to number deer.
It's sweet. It's
think
really cool.
I think it's actually really, really fun.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, it's just like when you get him on camera at the beginning of the year, that's his number.
Yeah.
You know, and we even went a step further. That could get a little complicated because if you did it year after year, then you might have to do like 1-23.
Yeah.
1-23 could turn into 5-24.
Yeah, exactly.
It could turn into 9-25.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you could get some real history.
Yikes.
Then all of a sudden your deer goes from having a number to having a serial number. It could be like 1-23, 4-25, 4-27. Yeah. I mean,
you just don't know.
Dude, you could call me and be like, oh my gosh, I've got 52596952458 on camera. Oh my gosh, he's back.
Yeah.
No, but so this whole time, as Nick's been showing me these deer, I've been like, yeah, man, that's awesome. And, you know, I'm like, and I keep, what have I been saying? He's
like, you just wait. There's going to be one on there that you will lose your mind over.
I'm like, there's bigger ones yet. Like,
yeah.
You know, we're at the pyramid and we're starting to go up the pyramid a little bit and we go back down and we go back up. I'm like, there's bigger ones. Like, just wait. Like, you're going to see more. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, God, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, just be excited. I'm like, that's an awesome deer. And I mean, that's a great deer for anybody.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm all about, it's not that I'm shooting for a number.
Yeah.
I want to shoot a mature deer.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I really want to shoot a mature deer, no matter what it is. And then all of a sudden,
well, so it was funny because on Friday night, we had a picture of just a cranker. Mm-hmm. Drop tine.
Little hang tine action.
Little hang tine. And
on his right side.
I'm like, dude, check this thing out. And then there you were kind of like, yep, that's a good one there.
I was like, okay, now we're getting up.
Now we're getting there.
We're getting more towards the top. We're not in the bottom third. We're at the top of the second third. We're like really getting up there.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get to, I was like, okay, that's a nice deer.
Yeah. And then the next night, literally the next night, I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a giant.
Yeah. First thing I said was, I want that one.
I mean, he is so big.
Yeah, he's really big.
He's just got everything. Double split brows. I'm getting way too into this.
You're going to have to totally leave that in there.
I'm getting way too excited. I'm getting way too excited right now.
You are.
Oh, gosh.
That's so awesome.
This is bad. These deer are getting to me.
I'm sweating, dude.
These deer are getting to me bad. I'm so fired up right now.
I am too. That is the best.
This is Iowa for you.
Dude, there's a sensor on there. Beep. Where is that button on there now?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
This is bad. I'm so fired up.
Dude, I know. It just makes you want to just like go hunting right now.
This deer is so big, you guys.
He's so big. He's big. It's making me sweat. I'm getting the meat sweats. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, dude. No.
Okay, so
No.
a really big deer showed up. And he, like I said, he had double brows and his
Mainframe nine, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got a split on he's a split towards the end of his left side.
Yeah. But I mean,
But
he
dude,
carries like 6-inch mass everywhere.
Dude, he's got mass all the way out to the end. All the way out to the end. He's long main beam and he's got mass all the way at the end. I mean, you're like somebody, you're like, oh, is that a 2.5 or a 3.5?
This one, you're like,
Oh yeah, he's got to be 5.
easily.
Oh, geez. And you're looking at, you're like, okay, well, I know what a 150-inch deer looks like. Bigger than that.
Yeah.
I know what a 160-inch deer looks like. Bigger than that. It's just like, geez, man. He is a big deer. Now, he's not 200 inches.
No.
He's not 190 inches. But, dude, he's a mature deer.
Mature, probably 180-ish.
Yeah.
I
Gotta
guess.
be in the 170s, I would think for sure. I would take a bet on that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Could he be scratching 180? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He's got so much mass.
Yeah. But yeah, so he showed up last Saturday on one of our cameras. And I kind of screwed up. The camera is set up. There's one big main scrape, and then there's a smaller scrape off to the left. And when I set it first, I had it set to be on the main scrape. Well, all these bucks were hitting the scrape that was off to the left. So when I went and changed batteries,
You put it to the scrape that I had it on before,
Yeah.
kind of angle and a kind of a downward angle a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because that's the only way that you can set it if you're trying to set it on a tree.
yeah,
But you can see it real good.
yeah. And so I moved it. Just bumped the side of it, and I checked my phone. I'm like, okay, now I can see the other scrape a little bit better. But when I bumped it, I must have bumped it down just a little bit.
So you see a lot more ground.
A lot more ground than you should. I just haven't gone back out there to fix it. But so when this deer showed up on Saturday night, he had his head up in a scrape, and you couldn't even see his rack. And I'm like, oh my, this deer is so big.
Yeah, and like you have all these other deer on camera in the exact same spot, and the camera set at the exact same angle.
Yeah.
And you can see the whole deer.
Yeah.
The whole deer.
Yeah.
Lift the set up, you see the whole deer.
Yeah.
This deer lifts the set up, and you literally see like his chin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he's just big.
And so the entire time when that happened, I'm like, I really hope we get him on camera on the other spot, because that one I have set up really nice. You can see him perfect.
It's mint.
It's really good.
Yep.
And so last night, baby.
He put on a show. He put a show for like half hour.
Yeah. And I'm still waiting for 118. What time is it?
10:52.
118, I'll get the videos in from the camera. And there's going to be...
Oh my goodness. And we'll put those on here.
Yeah, we'll put them on there.
He's big.
Oh,
Oh.
and it's hilarious because I've been fired up about number 9. Number 9 has been the buck that I wanted to shoot really bad.
Okay, so here's number 33. That's what this guy is.
Bing,
And then here's number 9.
bing.
Bang. Bing. Bang.
And
Number 9's a good deer too, but number 33
yeah,
is like his grandpa.
yeah, it's crazy because number 9 was in there last night too.
And they're you can see him standing in the exact same spot on the
Yeah.
scrape, and the size difference, not
Yeah.
only antler size, but body size.
Body size, it's just
Jeez.
it's insane. I mean, he dwarfs him. Like
It's just a big
he
deer.
looks so much.
We're really focusing on this, but it is big.
Yeah,
Well, dude, that's what I'm telling you, and that's what I've been saying all along. It's like, just wait, dude. And then when you showed me the picture of that one the other day on Saturday, I was like, yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's towards the top of the pyramid there. I don't know if there's one bigger than that, then we're gonna not be able to even talk.
no.
I mean, well, and the interesting thing too about that is that, yeah, man, it's just, we sit here and go, okay, well, why are those cameras lighting up so good, and cameras not so very far away are doing diddly squat only?
It's just crazy. I mean,
The only thing I come up with, and again, this is just my hillbilly reasoning. It could be completely wrong, but on the private permission pieces that we have the other camera set, there is still a substantial amount of corn left around and on it, where I feel like
they're probably just hanging out in there.
yeah, it just feels like you go out there and you don't see anything for rut activity. Not even just like rut activity, like seeing deer chasing or doing what they do. You're not going, oh, there's a rub, there's a scrape. Like, you're not seeing any of that. The other spots that we've hunted too, that we have some antlerless tags for, We're not seeing any rut activity.
nothing.
It's like, oh, there's not you're walking like a half mile through what you should be able to see as some deer sign. We're not seeing anything.
No.
And that's okay. It is what it is. But it's just, for whatever reason, whether there's just a doe that's hot earlier or whatever.
Could be.
But there is some scrapes there.
And that's the thing.
Make you want to ride home.
That's what I was just thinking about too. It's like these bucks, they're not just cruising by the camera. They're coming in and they're tearing up scrapes. I mean, the first true kind of like rut activity was the other night when we had that, I think it's number 15. Number 15 was daylight. And right before there was a doe that come by, and then a small buck was grunting right past the camera, chasing a doe.
Yeah. Well, and I guess but we should also say we saw rat activity the day we saw Mega.
Yeah,
because they were definitely chasing.
He was
that doe.
bumping her around.
Yeah,
for
he was
sure.
bumping around. They were fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, that was rut activity.
Yeah, and it wasn't like sparring that you'll see early
No.
season.
Like
they were
going at it.
Yeah,
they weren't just like, let's just tink to see what it feels like.
Yeah,
no.
But aside from that, it just feels like this other public piece is like a week ahead.
Yeah, it just feels
of everything else. It's crazy.
Yeah, and even we had an opportunity to go to a spot that I've hunted before in like not really southern Iowa, more like central Iowa.
Central, I'd say.
Same thing there. Just no sign.
There wasn't any really sign. And I scouted that place early spring.
Yep.
And I found a scrape that, I mean, it was huge.
We went right back to that spot. We're like, we're going to go down there for the day.
Yeah.
For an afternoon, let's just check that.
Yeah, see if
it was on their way to what we were doing.
See if it's opened up.
Nothing. I mean, there was tons of leaves. You could hardly see it. Leaves.
Could hardly see it. I think we saw one scrape on the way in, and it looked like one buck made it.
Yeah, it was just like a little bit of a scrape out. Yep. Hardly anything.
So it's just so interesting because I was expecting that place to be completely tore up, and
that's what I thought.
It just wasn't. But
But yeah, so I don't know. It's, I mean, is that maybe the difference in the fact that public spot has got all the corn is gone around it, you know what I mean, or amongst it or whatever, and it's just like that's just making it where those deer just. And it makes sense, I guess, for me in the fact of like when there's corn in, there's just more places for them to go. You're not going to see a deer like bedded out in the middle of a cornfield at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But when there's corn there, he's going to do that. He can just go out and march out in the middle there and just go, okay, I'm going to lay down here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and so I just think, and even on the cameras that I do have on that permission piece, what do I see the deer doing? I see them walking into the corn, walking out of the corn. That's what I see them doing. They're walking in there in the morning. They're walking out of there in the evening.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're just not. It's when the corn's out, it forces them, it just kind of necks them down. Instead of having this whole big place that they can go, you cut it by a third to 2/3.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's funny too.
And North Iowa is so fragmented
that
when you have the corn in, it just makes it tougher.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about this piece. I mean, this piece is completely surrounded by corn.
Yep.
And the stuff that you can't even really deer hunt is stuff that is like corn. It's just tall grass.
Yeah.
And so they can just be anywhere out there. But the thing that I've noticed, it's like I haven't been out there. I don't know. We haven't been out there in a while, like to actually see it, to see if the corn is actually off. But it's almost like the corn is off because in the last week we've seen so many more pictures.
It's a huge uptick.
And so it's like, okay, well, something had to have changed out there. The weather wasn't great.
No. I mean, we haven't been out there since October. We shot that deer on October 1st. It was the evening of October 1st. Remember we said, that's a pretty good way to start the season.
Yeah. Yep. It was October 1st. And then I think either the week after that or the next week, I went out there and changed.
Yep.
And the corn was still up.
Yep.
But I guarantee if we drive out there right now, there's no corn.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
it's really crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, and it's funny. Again, this is the game that is played, right? You're sitting here going, okay, well, we saw him here. Okay. And then we saw him here. It's like, okay, so he must have came from the west and now he's walking east. Well, where's he going to go next?
Yeah.
He's not just walking by the camera fast. He's like ripping up the scrape.
Yep.
So is he going to stay in there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the old adage and what I've always been taught in my experience is like the older deer gets, the smaller their home range gets.
Yeah.
The younger they are, the bigger they roam.
Yeah.
So it's like, now is that true? Is it not true? I mean, it's.
I think the biggest hurdle that we're going to have to jump, and we were just talking about this, is just the fact that there's so many does out there.
Yeah. Well, and
it's just going to be hard.
I think there's a lot of does everywhere.
My gosh.
And that's the funny thing. This isn't really what we were planning on talking about, and everybody's got their own 2 cents on this. You know what I mean? But the buck to doe ratio, I mean,
it's insane.
Yeah. And so
it's unreal.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I noticed that on my permission pieces because I know the number of does that I harvest out there. And I don't even know if it really makes a dent. You know what I mean? But it's just interesting when you hear of some of these people or places where they shoot a lot of does and they're trying to get their buck to doe ratio down so that their doe ratio is closer to their buck ratio so that a buck just doesn't have to go and go, there's a doe right here. Oh, walk 150 yards. Oh, there's a doe right there.
Yeah.
It's like, so all of a sudden when you rattle or grunt or you doe bleed or you're grunting and everything else, a buck goes and he looks down and he's just sitting right beside one. He's like, well, I don't need to do that.
There's no reason to leave.
Yeah. So does the rut happen? Yeah. And like you hear some guys like, oh, well, man, I've been hunting all of October, all of November. I haven't seen diddly.
Yeah.
I don't know the rut's happening. Oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a lot of does around. Or and like I said, the other caveat to that, and just trying to be objective and kind of arguing against myself here is the reality too is that they get on a hot doe and why would they leave?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I mean that,
especially a deer like him, he's not gonna have to run around and fend other bucks off, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just gonna like put his head down and go like this twice.
He'll get what he wants.
You're cool.
Yeah, he's not gonna have to really work for it.
Yeah, we're cool. But he's pretty awesome. Like I said, it'd be really, really cool to come across that guy.
Oh my gosh, even just to film him.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just.
But the interesting thing too about that, again, the other trail cam update is that, most of the deer that we're getting on camera, it is middle of the night.
Yep.
You've had what number did you have on that was during the day?
I believe it was 15.
Yeah. Yeah, number 15 during the day. That was in the evening. That would have been a great shot. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, he was
right there.
That's the scrape that Cole shot that doe off of.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have been under 30 yards for sure.
Yep. And so, but after that, even the pictures that I'm getting on the permission places, everything is at night.
Yeah.
Everything is just middle of the night. The night. So that's the interesting thing too, that I feel like we're really, really watching,
Yeah, we're just kind of waiting.
With a hot breath is like, when is it going to break?
Yeah.
And when it's all of a sudden these deer during the middle of the night going to be there at first light at 9 a.m. at noon? When all of a sudden is it going to just like flip? And when it flips, that's when you go. Yeah. And I think that really segues right into our next part of this conversation. By the time this episode airs and you're listening to this, you're watching this, guess what? Boom, boom, boom. We're in a cold front, baby. It's going to get cold. You should have seen me last night at my house. My wife, she was laughing at me because I looked at the weather, you and I did, and I saw Sunday, Friday, Saturday. Well, after Friday, then you get into Saturday, Sunday. Low of 21, high of like 39. I was like, here we go, baby. So guess what I did? I did all my yard work. I cleaned up the whole garage. I put all the yard furniture away. I tore down the trampoline. I did everything but rake the yard. I even blew out the garden hose. I did. There ain't a lick of water in that thing. Let it freeze. I don't care. Took the battery out of the moped, purple flame. You're retired for the season.
Want to know what I did to get ready? I brought my release to work today. Just to get a feel for it.
Just to play with it a little.
Play with it a little bit, get a feel for it, just a natural feeling.
Talk about the difference between a married guy and a single guy. Here I am. I came into work and I'm like, yeah, dude, I got all this stuff done. I was out. I started at 5:30 and I was working out in the yard with a headlamp on. My neighbor walked by and he goes, how you doing? And I was like, he literally's like, are you going to work till dark? I'm like, yes, I am. I already had the headlamp on my head. I was,
Yeah, you just wait till Friday. I'll probably be working with my bino harness on.
Yeah. So the difference between a married guy and a single guy. But yeah, I mean, we are on the cusp of a cold front. And tell you what, man, you get a cold front in October. Golly, here we go. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I mean, like you said, well, and again, going all the way back to the beginning of this, we had that encounter with Mega, and it was a cold, cold day.
Cold.
We saw that little bit of a cold front, and again, it's just kind of ironic how this year's working out. Man, I feel like it's going to be a tough year for deer.
Yeah.
Because we had a cold front, it lined up with a red moon. The next red moon starts, if I'm right, I think it starts next Monday. Hold on, I'll tell you because I was looking at it.
God.
The next red moon starts October 30th and goes until November 4th. Oh, baby. Then, if you want to just take a quick gander over to Deercast and you start looking at the 14-day for this zip code anyway, you are looking at this Friday. Oh, I can't have my fingers on you. Through next Wednesday, Thursday, it's saying good. It's saying whatever the highest level of get out in the woods right now. Also, if you want to take a gander at the barometric pressure, right now we're mingling in the 29.8. All of a sudden, guess what? We get into this weekend. Friday, Saturday, it jumps to we're jumping up to 30.25. She's going sky high, baby.
It's time to let something bark at something.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you. If you're not out in the woods right now, you need to call your boss. You need to call in sick. You need to eat too much at Taco Bell and,
just get after it, people.
Get food poisoning, get in a fight with your wife. Not a fight, just like an argument where she tells you to sleep in the garage and just sneak out the next morning. I don't know what you got to do, but if you're not hunting
gotta let one bark
Saturday through next Friday,
you're doing something wrong.
I don't know what you're doing because I feel like this is the time you should be out there because it's going to be cold in October, baby, and it's on like Donkey Kong.
Cold in October into the first week of November.
And I don't know what's happening all around the other parts of the country. We need to probably we need to put a call into like Jason Mears in Ohio. We need to put a call into Zach Green in Minnesota. We need to put a call into Jeff Bergman in Wisconsin. We need to get a rut report.
Maybe Zip if he gets out.
Get Zip in Wisconsin. Get a rut report from him. What we're seeing here is that I feel like we just need something to make it just like break.
Yeah.
And
it's right on the cusp.
I'm telling you what. It's like we got a stick and we're just bending it.
Yeah.
And guess what? 20 degrees, snap. Here we go. Boom goes the dynamite. You better be ready.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It could get nutty next week.
It could get a little out of hand.
Yeah. See what happens, though.
I'm telling you. I'm excited for it, dude. It could be really good.
And if you're listening to this is happening right now.
If you're listening to this is coming out on Monday. So get out there now. Go.
Yeah, stop listening to this.
Stop.
We'll take a little less viewers. Let's do it on the way home.
This is it's like if there was a tornado for deer hunting. This is a tornado warning. Take cover.
I feel like we're not talking about anything right now. It's going to be good.
Dude, I think it's important to let people know. If you didn't know, if you've been busy at work and you haven't been really taking a look at what's going on with your cameras and you're an avid hunter or maybe not an avid hunter, but you're a weekend warrior or whatever you are, and you're like, when do I want to go? You want to go right now. Go right now. Go today. Today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Get out in the woods. I know I'm yelling.
Let one bark.
I'm telling you, dude. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, it's getting to be that magical time of year. And
we're excited.
Man.
Sue us.
We even said a profanity today. We're crossing into new territory.
That was so bad. I was so in the zone. That deer just got me all sorts of fired up.
Oh, dude.
And number 9, number 15, 32, 33.
I thought there was deer in the 20s too, like 27 or something. That was
22
good.
is a nice buck.
Yeah.
I'd probably shoot him.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the other thing. That's the other thing. It's like, and I think a lot of guys this time of year are getting to be where, all the problems that guys are having are good problems because now we're having a problem where it's like, well, where do we go? I mean, where do we go?
I think we know where to go.
Oh, yeah, I know. Jeez.
Yeah, 22, shooter. 30, probably a shooter. 32, definite shooter. 33, absolute Mongoro giant. 9, shooter. Where's 15 at? I know 15's a good deer. Yep, there he is, 15. He'd get one. I was showing my dad this, and I had one on here. It was 14.
Let me see.
And Dad's like, you ain't shooting that thing.
That's what he said?
Yeah. He said, you got to up your standards a little bit.
Yeah.
I said, Donnie.
You know what's funny is that's where you and I are different, because I am an equal opportunity.
Yeah, you say that, but you're not with bucks.
That's what I was just going to say. You and I are different. I am an equal opportunity deer harvester when it comes to does. Antlerless deer. If it's a spiker, I'm shooting it. If it's a button buck, I'm shooting it. If it's a doeski, I'm shooting it. I have no reservation. I don't care what I got going on. I don't care how far the drag's going to be.
I sometimes think that if 33 is following a doe, you'd probably shoot the doe over the buck.
What did you hear me say when we saw Mega that day? It was, I almost shot that doe.
Yeah, I know.
I was contemplating shooting the doe on the scrape while Mega was at the top of the hill. I was thinking, it was funny. I was sitting there going like this, and I ranged her, and I went, in my head, I go, wonder if I could shoot her, and then he would still stand there. Even when she walked off, I was even like, great. Well, just passed up that opportunity. I was like kind of mad about the doe.
I respect it. I would never, but sometimes I just don't get it.
Oh, dude, I just like to shoot stuff.
Yeah,
I respect
it.
I like arrows zipping through.
I respect it for sure.
But that's where you and I are different, because you're an equal opportunity when it comes to bucks.
Yeah,
for the most part.
For the most part.
Whereas
I do have my number set kind of at 130 just because I want to shoot my biggest buck ever this
Yeah.
year. If it's 130, it's my biggest buck ever. And I feel like if I can get out, like there's a decent opportunity at that with what's showing up at over there.
And I would be the first to tell you that I think that my strategy is flawed, because I do this whole equal opportunity on does, and then I do this whole I want to shoot a mature deer.
Yeah.
And then I let mature deer walk right by.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a more mature deer, and then it walks away, and I'm like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? I've done that numerous times. We can show how many clips of video of that.
That's what we call overthinking.
Yeah. That's 100% it.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I've looked at deer, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know. It's like, and in all those situations, they're not like megas, you know what I mean? They're just like, they're good deer, but
really
they're mature
nice
deer.
Bucks. Probably anybody would be really happy to shoot.
Well, anybody, including myself. And then I walk off, and I'm like punching myself in the head, like, what are you doing? So I think that my whole strategy needs a little bit of a upgrade here.
Oh, if something walks by, I think I might be able to push you over the edge because I'm going to be in your ear. I can shoot that thing.
Yeah. But and again, dude, like that's where I come from. It's like, for me, I guess that whole idea is set around the precedent of, I would really like to just shoot a deer that is a mature deer and deer that I'm really proud of.
Exactly.
And it's like, if it's a deer that I'm like, oh, I don't know, he's not like really, really big, or he's not like whatever, I just rather just let him walk off, and I'll shoot a doe.
Yeah.
I have just as much fun doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really need like the antlers in my living room, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or another mount on the wall.
Yeah.
That doesn't like shake me up,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from.
That's how I'm too. Like, I don't like to think of myself as like a numbers guy. I just have like the 130 as kind of my goal because I know that would really, really fire me up. But probably if a 115 walked by and my heart started racing, I'd probably shoot him because I know that I'd be really fired up about it.
Mm-hmm.
Never shot a deer on public land. First deer in Iowa. Like,
there's more to it than just the deer.
No, yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's like that for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And like you said, we're trying to make things harder. We're trying to do as much as we can on video.
Yeah, exactly.
So then it's
always
even
tough.
It's even trickier that way.
Yeah. Awesome when it works out though.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I think we wrap it up. I think this episode got a little heated.
Yeah, sorry for cussing.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I've never even heard that word before.
That's the first time I've ever said it.
That's the first time I ever heard it.
Jeez.
That's a lie.
Crap.
Oh, that was pretty funny. You're going to have to leave that in its entirety.
I will.
Just beep it out.
I will.
That is just so awesome. That is going to be the best micro clip ever.
I think that I'm really obsessed with trail cameras, and when something like that happens, it just soaks in my brain forever, and it's firing me up big time.
Oh
it's
my
bad.
goodness. Well, and it's like you said,
It's good, but it's bad.
I've heard this before, and I feel like this is kind of applicable to the trail camera thing. There's motivation, there's being motivated, there's being driven, and then there's discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that you kind of have to have a combination of all three when you're trying to hunt a lot.
Yeah.
And I think trail cameras a lot of times can help kind of like spur that along, because eventually motivation kind of goes away.
Yeah.
We're like, dude, the other day, we went hunting the other day, and
it was bad.
It was raining. I knew the rain was going to stop, but I hadn't been that tired in a while.
Oh my gosh, we were both sitting in the parking lot.
And I said, let's just take a little 10-minute siesta before we get out. And I could barely get myself to wake up. I mean, it's terrible. So motivation wanes, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be driven, you have to have drive, right, as well. But a lot of times it comes down to discipline, just to go, okay, let's go. Whether that's hunting or getting up in the morning or eating the right way or just whatever you do in your day-to-day life. A lot of people, we're all motivated. We all have a lot of drive, but at the end of the day, sometimes it just comes down to discipline.
And it could even be discipline on the other end, like it's kind of the wrong wind or something.
Yes.
Just don't go in there and screw it all up.
Yes, yes. And it's exactly. And so the thing that's interesting is like, the nice thing about trail cams is sometimes trail cameras kind of can fuel that fire of motivation and drive to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Because like if I only was looking at the permission spots, man, I would be a little bit
defeated.
I would a little bit on the lows right now because I'm sitting here going,
what do I even do?
It's end of October and I haven't had a good deer on camera since August.
Yeah.
There's some monsters out there. I haven't seen them since August. I haven't seen them. Not a hoof.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's cameras out there. I just don't have them on the, so that's where trail cameras can be kind of fun to kind of help motivate and drive you to keep on keeping on. And like we've said before, and just like this whole thing we talked about way back with Dwayne Diefenbach, man, when in doubt, be in the woods.
Yeah, just go hunt.
And guess what? If you're going to pick a time to try to be in the woods,
it's this next week.
It feels like it's right now. When this episode's airing, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the end of October, beginning of November, it's going to get good.
Yeah.
It's going to get cold, and that means it's going to get hot.
Yeah.
And only a real deer hunter will understand what that means.
Yeah.
But it's on like Donkey Kong.
Yep.
That's the end of it. Roll the music. Roll the music. Hey, I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
I don't think I've been fired up like this. I'm pretty fired up today.
Me too.
I'm feeling like a little sweaty, like just kind of like got done working out or something.
Yeah.
We were just sat here. But a lot of arm motions.
Yeah.
A lot of swearing going on. Talking about pooping. It's been a lot of stuff. Hey, thanks for listening. Hey, Zip, if you're out there, you better be sitting in a tree stand right now. You better not be listening to this.
See you next week.
See you later. Bye.